हाँ जी. Many of you are not wearing masks at all, huh? Given up.
फाइन नहीं वो कम हो गया ना सर.
हाँ?
फाइन 2000 से 500 हो गया.
तो 4 बार लग गया तो वही हुआ ना.
अभी तक नहीं लगा हुआ.
हाँ?
एक दिन में फाइन एक ही बार.
दिन में एक ही बार होता है.
अभी तो बहुत खर्च बना के निकल जाना फाइन वाला. लग चुका है.
तो शुरू करें. Shall we begin? क्या चाय पी रहे हो क्या? हो गया? Yes, friends. We had the first meeting. Who's speaking? Commentary. We had the first meeting of our Politburo after the 23rd Party Congress, and discuss the current political situation, developments, and the division of responsibilities and work among the members of the Politburo and Central Committee. This will now be placed before the Central Committee, which is meeting on the 18th and 19th of June. Then these decisions will be formalized, because it is the Central Committee that has the authority to decide on these matters, and also on the formation of the Central Secretariat of the party. That will be taken up in the Central Committee meeting. But amongst the issues that we discussed, which is there in the communique that we have circulated, this galloping price rise is actually killing the livelihoods of crores of people. And this government is completely unconcerned about it. And instead, it is trying to divert people's attention by sharpening communal polarization. And that is the only agenda that they have. The price rise of all commodities, particularly foodstuff, is actually crippling. The main reason for this is the regular hikes in the prices of petroleum products. And this Ukraine war is only an excuse, because this process started much before the war began. And that is because of the high levels of central duties on petroleum products. That is why we have demanded that all the cess and surcharges on petroleum products, which the central government is now charging, must be abolished. That will bring down the prices of petroleum products and therefore have a cascading effect on the other prices, because the transportation costs naturally will reduce. So that is the demand that we have made, and we will consult and coordinate with other left parties in order to launch a concerted, united people's struggle against this growing, galloping price rise. The other issue that we discussed was that this fiasco of the LIC IPO. Now, this government has embarked on a large-scale loot of our national assets through this national monetization pipeline, and virtually every single asset of the country, which the owners of that are the people of India. And without any opinion from the owners of this property, it is being sold, and sold for a song. LIC was undervalued deliberately. Its share prices were brought down deliberately to appease international investors. And this IPO took place at a time when FIIs, that's foreign institutional investors, are leaving our stock markets in a big way, which is leading to the fall in the value of the rupee. And it's never been so bad as far as Indian currency is concerned internationally. And all this is happening. Therefore, we demand that the first installment of this IPO has been conducted. But we say now stop the other installments that are there in the pipeline, and do not sell this asset, because the owners of LIC are 29 crore policy holders. They are the actual owners of LIC. And it is being sold by the government in order to rake in super profits. But the assets are being completely looted. This has to stop, so put an end to any future sale of LIC shares. As I said earlier, the distraction which this government wants to achieve, along with its objective of transforming the secular democratic Republic of India as defined by our constitution into a fascistic, what they call the Hindutva Rashtra. In this, to facilitate this process, they are sharpening very viciously communal polarization. What we have seen by the way they've misutilized the religious festivals of Ram Navami and Hanuman Jayanti with incendiary speeches, hate speeches, provoking violence, which led to these clashes in many parts of the country, cutting across many states, and particularly in the BJP ruled states, how police was given permission for armed private mobs to go into processions on these occasions. Even the judiciary has been asking the police to explain why and how permission was granted for people with firearms to be allowed to be there in the procession. So all these points to the fact that this sort of an atmosphere of hate and violence is being promoted for the twin objective of achieving their fascistic project and to divert people's attention away from their economic hardships. Now this is something that has to end. So the CPIM has called upon all our units to mobilize all people who will stand for peace and foil the sinister objectives of these private armed forces. And that is a call that has been given to all our units today, and to ensure that peace prevails and peace and committees be formed in order to ensure social harmony. And then along with this, also targeted bulldozer politics has begun. This bulldozer politics has an international history. We've seen that being used in the past by fascist forces. We see that being used now by Israel against the Palestinians. And now you have here targeted bulldozing that is being done. Now if there are illegal settlements, encroachments, etc., there are laws, there are rules, there are procedures. Follow them. And one of the commitments of this government also is that alternative dwelling premises will be provided to those people whose encroachments are being bulldozed. No such alternative arrangements were made. People's entire property was smashed, and this has happened all across in many states. In fact, in UP, in Madhya Pradesh, apart from Delhi, Jahangir Puri, etc. So this is something that has to stop. With judicial intervention, it's been put on hold, but it has to stop, and proper alternative arrangements must be made for their rehabilitation before their dwellings and their means of survival, small shops, husbands, before they are all destroyed and all their lifetime savings and property is destroyed. So that is what we specifically demand. Today, the Supreme Court has put in abeyance the sedition law. It's a good thing that they have done. They've put in abeyance and they've said stopped all proceedings that are there pending in various states and and it has also directed the central and the state governments not to file FIRs under this section, sedition law 124A of the IPC, Indian Penal Code, and this direction of not to file fresh FIRs on anybody, invoking this provision, These are steps, we think, in the correct direction towards the ultimate scrapping of the sedition law. After the vacations, the court will resume the hearing in July, and we only hope that the court will proceed to actually remove this section from our statute books. The government's ruse again, saying that we will review this law, that cannot be an excuse for allowing a delay, which is exactly what the government is intending to do. So the court, our appeal would be, the court must act and proceed on the basis of the interim orders that they have issued today. On the J&K Delimitation Commission, we think this is not only patently unfair, but it is politically motivated. Politically motivated to change the demographic composition of J&K. The only Muslim majority state in India is something that those who propagate fascistic Hindutva cannot accept. To change the demographic composition, they have given these recommendations, which are 47 seats for Kashmir and 43 in the 90-member assembly, while according to the population census, which was the basis for delimitation, is always the basis for any delimitation, population. According to that, Kashmir should have got 51 seats and 39 should have gone to Jammu. But this has been changed to give 47 to Kashmir and 43 to Jammu. This is clearly politically motivated to change the demographic composition. Therefore, the Politburo has urged that these recommendations must be rejected and go in accordance with the population of the regions of Jammu and Kashmir. Finally, the data fudging of this government has reached the level where they are actually insulting the people, unfortunate victims of the COVID pandemic. The WTO estimation, which is widely, been accepted by everybody in the country. I don't think there's any single family in the country which has not been affected or which has very close relatives who are affected. And this sort of an undercounting of the death is actually insulting the dead. This is absolutely inhuman, and in their own states where BJP governments exist, the number of compensation for COVID deaths that they had to bring about, first of all, under pressure from the Supreme Court. Otherwise, they were not even willing to give this compensation. The number of people for whom this compensation has been cleared is multiple times the official COVID death figure. Gujarat itself, classic example, is nearly 10 times. So if they're giving compensation to 10 times the number, why are they hiding this number? Whether in other states they are not willing to pay the mandated compensation amount to these victims. This is absolutely inhuman, unacceptable. The government must now pay the mandated compensation to all those unfortunate people who lost their lives during the pandemic. So overall on this, we will be shortly meeting with the other left parties and working out a national level public protest, people's movement against against the price rise to begin with, and also these economic policies that are ruining our livelihoods, and this aggressive Hindutva communal polarization that is seeking to advance the destruction of a secular democratic republic. And against these, we will jointly together with the left forces and other secular forces launch a big people's movement in the coming days. So this in short is what I have to inform you about the meeting. Now, any questions? Good.
President election is comment. The president election is coming. BNP already started the discussion. In those discussion, will the CPM demand for common candidate for opposition?
The initiative for a president to have a common candidate or build a consensus always comes from the government. The fact that the government has not taken any such initiative so far means that they do not want. It's clear. So therefore the opposition parties, secular opposition parties, they are also under discussion. We are also discussing. So what will be done will be jointly and collectively taken by the opposition parties.
देशद्रोह का जो कानून 107 से चला आ रहा था, आज सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने उस समय के लिए एक इंटरिम ऑर्डर आज दिया है क्योंकि सरकार ने समय मांगा है इस पर पुनर्विचार करने के लिए। सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने खास कहा है कि जब तक पुनर्विचार या अगला ऑर्डर नहीं आता तब तक कहीं कोई राज्य सरकार या कोई केंद्र की एजेंसी लागू नहीं कर सकती। जो लोग ऑलरेडी जेल में है इस कानून के तहत वो बेल के लिए अप्लाई करें, और जहाँ ऑलरेडी फाइल्ड है केस वहाँ पर प्रोसीडिंग आगे नहीं होगी। तो आप कह रहे हैं कि इसी को परमानेंट करना चाहिए, वो क्यों करना चाहिए? क्योंकि अब तो चीफ जस्टिस भी रिटायर होने वाले हैं।
नहीं, वो जो भी हो, कोर्ट ने, हम समझते हैं कि एक अच्छा आदेश दिया है। ये तीनों बातें जो कही, वो कहा कि सेडिशन लॉ के ऊपर अंकुश लगाया, केंद्र और राज्य सरकारों को ये डायरेक्शन दिया, आदेश दिया कि वो इस सेक्शन के तहत कोई एफआईआर नया दर्ज नहीं करेंगे। दूसरी बात उन्होंने कहा कि जो प्रोसीडिंग्स है अभी इस केस के जितने लोगों के ऊपर, उसके ऊपर भी अंकुश लगाई। तीसरी बात उन्होंने कहा कि जब तक जुलाई के अंदर जब फिर वापस ये सुनवाई शुरू होगी तब तक जो है इस कानून को अब एबेंस में रखिए, यानी लागू मत करिए। तो हम समझते हैं कि इसी रुझान को आगे ले जाते हुए इस कानून को हमारे कानून के किताब से हटा दें। ये कानून लाया गया था ब्रिटिश हुकूमत की तरफ से, और ब्रिटिश हुकूमत हमारे देश की स्वतंत्रता आंदोलन को कुचलने के लिए ये सेडिशन लॉ लाए थे। महात्मा गांधी से लेकर कई सारे, तिलक से लेकर कई सारे नेता उस समय इसके अंदर गिरफ्तार हुए। आज़ाद भारत के अंदर एक सेकुलर डेमोक्रेटिक जो भारत है, गणराज्य है, उसके अंदर इस कानून का कोई जगह नहीं है। तो उसको रद्द करना चाहिए, और सरकार का ये दावा कि वो इसको रिव्यू करेंगे, ये उनका तरीका रहा है। अब तक ये अनुभव हो चुकी है पूरे देश को। जब कभी किसी काम को नहीं करना चाहते हैं वो चला जाता है रिव्यू के लिए, कोई कमेटी बना देंगे, 2-2 साल 3-3 साल लगा देंगे, तब तक ये कानून चलता रहेगा। और आज अनुभव क्या है, सेडिशन केसेस के अंदर तकरीबन 400 लोगों को जो गिरफ्तार किया गया, सिर्फ 6 लोग हैं, 6 जिसके ऊपर कन्विक्शन हुई, बाकी सब जेल में हैं, बेल भी अप्लाई नहीं कर सकते वो। लेकिन अब इस आदेश से वो बेल के लिए अप्लाई कर सकते हैं, और उसको रोक नहीं पाएंगी सरकार अब ये आदेश आने के बाद। तो इसका दुरुपयोग कितने बड़े पैमाने पर हो रहा वो स्पष्ट है सबके सामने। तो इस कानून को अपने कानून के किताब से इसको हटा दें। Yes, UAPA cases also on the question. If you recollect, when the UAPA bill was being discussed in the parliament, when I was there then, and we had this running battle with the then Home Minister, saying that this will be grossly misused, this provision of saying that you cannot apply for bail can't be considered. But then there has to be limit, and I'm sure that demand we are going to continue to keep raising it. And I hope that in the light of this tradition on the this train of thought by the Supreme Court on the sedition law, this will also be reconsidered, because the question is there has to be a mandated limit of time for filing of the charge sheet. non-filing of the charge sheet and therefore no bail till the charge sheet is filed. That keeps continuing for years now. For 3 years people are there in, under UAPA. Bhima Koregaon, till now the charge sheet is not there. You have, your journalist, you have Siddiqui, Kampan Siddiqui. These charges are not being framed deliberately in order to send a signal that any dissent in our country would be treated as anti-national. That is not acceptable.
What's your assessment of the situation in Sri Lanka?
In?
Sri Lanka. So, what is the lesson
Well, it's
we have to learn from?
very difficult for us here to learn, but it is definitely in a very, very deep crisis, political, economic of course, which is what trigger of this whole thing. A very, very deep political crisis, and we'll now just have to wait and see. Things are rapidly moving there. So, whether with the resignation and the suggestion that there be an all-party government, what sort of thing will work out, etc., that we'll have to wait and watch, and very carefully watch. It's an important neighbor of India.
Comrade, Trikakara by-election is going on in Kerala, and the allegation is that the candidate is Christian root nominee. CPM candidate is Christian root nominee. But
CPM candidate is CPM nominee.
No, yeah.
So if you know better, then I don't know. You're not in my party, are you? We decide, no? So CPM candidate is CPM nominee. Full stop.
Comrade, today, Congress leader K.V. Thomas made a press conference and he made it clear that he will campaign for LDF candidate in Gujarat.
Welcome. In an election, we always ask everybody to support us and come and campaign for us. So if people wish to come and campaign for our candidate, they're most welcome. And we.
Sir, comrade. If Congress take any action against him, will you welcome him to the party?
Let us see how things happen. We can't speculate on that. Till now, there's been, from what we see from the media, some proceedings were initiated and they were dropped, and I don't know what the Congress is doing. So we'll see what happens then.
So one question is citizen law, which you articulated well enough, but then the union lobbyists today have said that there is a Lakshman Rekha that will not be crossed.
What?
There is a Lakshman Rekha
For what?
between the judiciary and the executive.
Huh?
Between the judiciary, government, executive. So he says that that line must not be crossed.
He said the law minister has said that there should be a Lakshman Rekha between judiciary and executive, and that should not be crossed. On the citizen issue, he is saying that law minister said.
I don't know what the law minister has in mind, but there is no need for any other direction than the Constitution of India. The Constitution of India clearly defines what are the rights, powers of the judiciary, the executive and the legislature. And that is what the government, the executive, will have to adhere to. So this, advising the other organs, they are most welcome to advise. But that is not the issue. It's clear cut. What are their jurisdictions?
He insinuated that has been breached.
He
insinuated that line has been breached.
No, but how? Where? On what basis? The executive under the Constitution of India, the executive, that is the government, the central government, is accountable to the legislature. The legislators are accountable to the people. That is the meaning of we the people. Constitution begins with we the people because it's people's sovereignty. That is supreme. Is the executive being accountable to the legislature? That is where the Lakshman Rekha has to come. By devaluing the parliament, what is being done by the executive is that it is escaping from its accountability and it is destroying the basic thread of the Indian Constitution, that is the sovereignty of the people, that is exercised by executive's accountability to parliament, parliamentarians' accountability to the people. That thread is being broken by the executive between executive and the parliament. So if the minister wants to advise, first our humble advice to him is first correct yourself. बताइए क्या बता, क्या सवाल पूछो ना, बता देता हूँ। देखिए मतलब पूरे सवालों के बारे में अभी जो बोला मैं उसको ही हिंदी में बोल रहा हूँ। सबसे अहम मुद्दा आज देश के लोगों के सामने है ये महंगाई जो हर दिन बढ़ते जा रही है। इस महंगाई के पीछे मुख्य कारण है जो पेट्रोल के पदार्थों के दाम जिस तरीके से सरकार बढ़ाई जा रही है, और वो बढ़ाने के पीछे असली कारण ये है कि सरकार जितने टैक्स उसके ऊपर लगाकर अपने लिए रकम वसूल कर रही है, वो पूरा का पूरा आर्थिक बोझ लोगों के ऊपर थोप रही है। और पेट्रोलियम पदार्थ के दाम बढ़ने का मतलब है ट्रांसपोर्टेशन का दाम बढ़ता है और हर पदार्थ के दाम बढ़ते हैं। तो हमारी मांग है साहब कि सरकार जो सरचार्ज और सेस जो लगाई है पेट्रोलियम पदार्थों के ऊपर वो हटाए फौरन, ताकि दाम घटेगी और उसके बाद लोगों को राहत मिल सकेगी। दूसरी ओर से जो देश की जो पूरी संपत्ति का खुलेआम लूट हो रहा है आज, LIC जैसी संस्था 29 करोड़ लोग पॉलिसी होल्डर है जो मालिक है LIC, बिना उनकी अनुमति के या बिना उनको भागीदारी के सरकार जो है इसको बेच रही है। और इसकी जो वैल्यू जो उन्होंने लगाया, इसकी कीमत वो है 38 लाख करोड़ रुपए की। 38 लाख करोड़ रुपए की संपत्ति आज जो है ये बेच रही है, खासतौर से विदेशी पूंजी के लिए, उनके फायदाओं के लिए। और ये हम समझते हैं कि देश के खुलेआम लूट ही नहीं, हमारे देश के आर्थिक सुरक्षा इतने करोड़ लोगों की है। 29 करोड़ लोग बने, पॉलिसी होल्डर बने, 29 करोड़ परिवार, कितने हो गए आप? तकरीबन पूरी आबादी। अब इन सभी लोगों की आर्थिक जो उनकी सुरक्षा है उसको नष्ट करते हुए कर रही है। इसके ऊपर पहला इंस्टॉलमेंट आपने शेयरों का बेचा, अब बंद करो, ये शेयर बेचना बंद करो LIC की, ये है हमारी पूरी की मांग। तीसरी बात, लोगों के सामने इतने दिक्कतें हैं, बेरोजगारी है, महंगाई है, भूखमरी बढ़ रही है देश के अंदर, लेकिन इन सभी सवालों को दरकिनार करके सरकार का एकमात्र केंद्र बिंदु है सांप्रदायिक ध्रुवीकरण को तेज करो, नफरत और हिंसा के आधार पर, अल्पसंख्यकों के खिलाफ ये नफरत और हिंसा के आधार पर ये ध्रुवीकरण को और तेज करते हुए अपनी जो सांप्रदायिक वोट बैंक है उसको मजबूत करने के लिए देश की एकता और अखंडता के लिए खतरा पैदा कर रही है। बेफजूल जान जा रहे हैं, और इस तरीके के हमले जो हुए, सांप्रदायिक हमले, अपने धार्मिक त्योहारों का दुरुपयोग करते हुए, उसको इस्तेमाल करते हुए, इसके ऊपर अंकुश लगाने की ज़रूरत है। और प्रधानमंत्री का चुप रहना अपने आप में ये स्पष्ट संकेत है कि इस तरीके की प्राइवेट जो आर्म्ड जो गैंग्स हैं उन सब के लिए संरक्षण है आज सरकार का, और उसी वजह से उनकी हिम्मत बढ़ती है कि इस तरीके के हमले करें, इस पर रोक लगाए। साथ ही साथ जो बुलडोज़र की राजनीति आपने शुरू की, जो टारगेट करके अल्पसंख्यकों की जगहों पर घरें उजाड़ना, अगर कोई अवैध या इलीगल ऑक्यूपेशन है उसके खिलाफ उसको कैसे हटाना है, इसके लिए कानून है, तरीके हैं, उन तरीकों के और उन कानून का पालन करिए। एक मुख्य बात यह है कि उनको वैकल्पिक रहने के इंतज़ाम और ज़िंदा रहने के लिए वैकल्पिक काम का वो भी जो जिम्मेदारी सरकार को लेनी है, बिना वो लिए हुए इस तरीके की डिमोलिशन करना, ये बर्बाद कर रहे हैं। और इसके अंदर भी अल्पसंख्यकों को टारगेट करना, ये है मुख्य बात। तो ऐसी इस परिस्थिति में जो भी सरकार का विरोध करता था उसके खिलाफ ये सेडिशन लॉ के अंदर गिरफ्तार करते आए। 400 के ऊपर ये सेडिशन लॉ लगी हुई है, सिर्फ 6 लोगों को सज़ा मिली है कोर्ट कचहरी से, बाकी किसी के ऊपर वो चार्ज भी फ्रेम नहीं हुए। और इनके ऊपर यानी आप सरकार की विरोध करने की हिम्मत दिखाओगे तो आपको जेल में डाल देंगे। अब इसके ऊपर सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने आज अंकुश लगाया, जो अच्छी बात है। हम चाहेंगे जो अंकुश जो आज लगाए, ये सुनवाई जब फिर शुरू होगी जुलाई में सुप्रीम कोर्ट की छुट्टियों के बाद, वो समय इस कानून को ही हटा दिए हमारे देश के अंदर। ये कानून का कोई जगह नहीं है एक स्वतंत्र प्रजातंत्र भारत के अंदर। और इसके अलावा हम ये चाहते हैं, हमारे पॉलिट ब्यूरो में तय किया कि कश्मीर के अंदर जो भी डिलिमिटेशन किया, ये सिर्फ ये अनफेयर ही नहीं है, लेकिन इसके पीछे भी एक राजनीतिक मकसद जुड़ी हुई है। और वो हम समझते हैं कि कश्मीर की जनसंख्या की जो कॉम्पोजिशन है उसको बदलना। एकमात्र राज्य है हमारे देश में जहाँ पर बहुमत मुसलमान है, अब उसको बदलना है। उसके लिए जितने सीट मिलनी चाहिए थी कश्मीर को, उससे कम करके दिए, और जितने सीट जो है जम्मू के लिए उससे बढ़ाकर जम्मू को दिए। तो ये हम समझते हैं कि बहुत ही गलत तरीके से ये किया गया है। तो इस डिलिमिटेशन कमीशन के सिफारिशों को आप रद्द करिए। आखिरी बात यह है कि जो अब अनफॉर्चुनेट कहिए या जो भी कहिए, जो अपनी इस महामारी में जिनकी मौत हुई है, जो बहुत कुछ झेलना पड़ा उनको, अब उस मौत की जितने लोगों की हुई है उस संख्या को भी कम दिखाना, ये एक किस्म से बहुत बड़ी इंसल्ट है जो जान गंवाए। मोदी सरकार की ये आदत कि असलियत को छुपाने के लिए वो आंकड़े को ही हेराफेरी करते हैं आंकड़ों का। इसके चलते हुए इसके साथ खिलवाड़ मत करिए। जो दुर्भाग्यपूर्ण जिनके जान गए इस महामारी को झेलते हुए, उन सबको जो मुआवजा जो सुप्रीम कोर्ट के आदेश से सरकार को तय करना पड़ा, उसको जो है इन सबको दिलवाएं और इज्जत के साथ असलियत को देश के सामने, दुनिया के सामने रखिए। ये मुख्य बातें थी हमारे पॉलिट ब्यूरो में। और जिम्मेदारी, क्योंकि पहली मीटिंग रही हमारे पार्टी कांग्रेस के बाद, जो जिम्मेदारियां पॉलिट ब्यूरो के सदस्य और केंद्र कमेटी के सदस्य निभाएंगे उसके बारे में चर्चा हुआ। ये पूरा फाइनल होगा हमारी केंद्रीय कमेटी की मीटिंग में, क्योंकि अधिकार केंद्रीय कमेटी की है, जो हो रहा है 18 और 19 जून में दिल्ली में। ठीक? So you found out who nominated? No, you went out to find out, no, who nominated? I thought you went out to check.
Just a line. Sir, CPIM is continuously welcoming 𝒂𝒒, but he is not responded well. What is the expectation of CPIM?
What is our expectation? We didn't expect anything. What they do on that basis will react. What is nothing to do with us. It is their internal matter. What the Congress will decide, they will decide. But we in every election, we appeal to everybody to support us. So more people are supporting us, that is welcome.
Will you welcome him to the party?
Why? I mean, where is that situation now? You tell me, if you want to join the party, I may welcome you. But you have to tell me, no? You have to tell me. If you don't tell me that, how do I welcome you?
That means 𝒂𝒒 have to express his
desire to join.
That's first. Let us see what the situation is, what it is developing, etc. You are speculating too much at the moment. Mr. 𝒂𝒒 is a very senior politician in the country. He served as a cabinet minister. He's been in the parliament. He's been in the assembly also. I'm sure. And he is a very senior, seasoned politician in our country. So I'm sure, I mean, his wisdom, political wisdom, is much more than mine or anybody else, because I'm much too junior in politics compared to him, the number of years he's been there. So I'm sure he'll take a decision, whatever he decides, then we'll see. Okay? Thank you very much.